Oh my God, what am I doing? Hello, welcome to Just Thinking Out Loud. So, after the tragedy that happened in Vegas and all of the talk about gun control, I thought that you guys would be interested in hearing my opinion on the topic and gun control in general. As you can probably guess, I am pro-gun. That does not mean that I am pro-violence, and I'm going to give a few different perspectives. The first and most important one to me is that of freedom and or liberty. If the government and the police can have guns, I want to have them too. I don't want to put my safety into the hands of people in power. That's stupid. They have no obligation to protect me. They have an obligation to protect themselves. That's biologically speaking, just due to their instincts. And also, as people who are enforcing the law, it's for them to protect themselves against criminals. We all just saw all those people in Catalonia being harassed by the state because they were not being loyal to the state, even though they supposedly live in a democracy and should be able to vote on these things. To me, liberty is the only argument that is necessary. That's it. I'm going to add on the other things, just put more information in there. There is a continuum in terms of how unrestricted you want it to be. But people who talk about how if you just don't have any guns, then nobody can be violent. Well, you can kill people in many different numbers of ways. You can also make your own guns. That happens in the place that I am from. Just because they have laws that say you can't buy certain things, it doesn't mean that you can't make your own weapon. And the whole point is that you don't want to put yourself at a disadvantage to other people. Or you know what? Maybe you do and you don't mind putting your life in the hands of other people, but I don't want to do that. Maybe that's something that you want to do. I think that's dumb. Like, I really think that's dumb. I don't want to do that. We are a hierarchical species and there is a dominant structure. And once you have these laws that say who can do X and the other person can't do Y, there are people who are going to rise to the top and take control of that. The second perspective I have is that of being someone from a country that has a very high per capita homicide rate. Like, at one point it was the highest in the world. First of all, in Jamaica, gun violence came about due to political parties trying to pit people against each other, and that's how it came into the hands of the citizens. I still don't know why people trust the government, and depending on how much you watch my videos, you will understand why I'm so anti-government based on my own experiences and upbringing. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that there was one night that my father and I were worried about our safety, and we only had knives. Okay, and if somebody were to come and attack us, we would be up against guns. Because criminals get guns. And I know what that fear feels like. Gun prohibition happened in Jamaica because people were saying that things were getting violent. So they were like, oh, well then, let's just take away all the guns. And you know what? It got worse. People can source their guns illegally, which we all know happens when there's a restriction on something. There's just a black market that pops up because people want it. People can also make homemade guns. That's something that's super common in Jamaica. I don't really hear people mention this a lot. You can make your own frigging guns. I also said in another video that there was a time in Jamaica where you could leave your doors unlocked. That was before gun prohibition. Private citizens are at the mercy of criminals and the government, and whether or not these government politicians are actually not corrupt. Jamaica is not the United States, and the underlying issues affecting crime are different. But I think that just removing the tool just changes the method in which the killing can be done. And it also does not remove the source of the motivation, and that's what I think should actually be focused on, and that's what my third point is about. Also, this mass shooting that just happened with several hundred people injured and about 50 being dead through shooting. Just remember that there was also an incident in Nice in France where there was a truck and it was about the same number of people injured. You do not need guns to kill people. You don't. All you need is tools and a brain. We're very resourceful as human beings. That's why we're kind of at the top of the food chain. The third perspective I actually got from reading a very interesting article which was discussing two of the safest places in the world. It was written in 1995, so this may have changed, especially with a lot of immigration. They were talking about Japan and Switzerland, two countries that had very different approaches to violence, because in Japan, guns were outright banned, while in Switzerland, most men had guns because they were trained to be in the armed forces. What this was pointing out was culture. And again, that's why I was saying that if you really want to stop violence, you need to focus on the actual issues. So you could also focus on the socialization of citizens, not whether or not they have gun control laws. Either way, if there is a lot of criminal activity within a certain region, there is less burglary against private citizens. So that's what I think about this topic. By the way, I found myself trying to read up on gun control laws in New York and then discovering that it's sort of different depending on where you go, just like all their tax laws, which is crazy per county and municipality. It's really crazy. Bye guys, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to support the show. Also, I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Some part of me wants to be like, nope, it shouldn't be restricted, because once you have specific bureaucracy and laws in place, then only certain people tend to have access to those things. But